Hello. Hi. How's it going? Cut all my hair off, didn't I? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I like the flippiness. I also dyed it as well, so like if my hairline looks a bit weird, then sorry about it. Like that's just how it is. Anyway, let me flip that down so that I don't get distracted by this lovely halo of light I have created. Anyway, what are we doing today? Well, I lied. First of all, you're not going to see two videos in a row where I look exactly the same because I have discovered in editing the last video, which is this video that I'm now re-recording, that I hated it. It was so shit. So I'm redoing it. So hi, I'm a liar. I'm sorry. This video is requested by one of my lovely subscribers. Called Who Knows. Again, I'll put the comment here somewhere for you. And they want to know how it is moving to Skye or a Scottish island and what it's like to work here and what kind of jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would talk a little bit about that today. It's not hugely interesting, so I will try and keep it short. Moving to Skye. I think I should probably go that way. I don't know. Anyway, moving to Skye. Right. I moved to Skye, as I've probably said about a bajillion times, 11 years ago now. And it was a really simple decision, frankly. It was my mum that decided to move us here. And it came down to what we could afford down south and where mum really wanted to live. So I was only 18 at the time. I didn't have a clue what I was doing with my life. I was just sort of wandering around, endlessly going to college. Mum came up to Skye on her own to visit a friend for a long weekend. And when she came back to Buckinghamshire, she went, I bought a house. We're moving in 6 weeks. And at that point, our house down south had only just sold and it had been on the market for about 2 years because it was right in the middle of the bloody recession. The first recession. Let's say that so that this video ages well. So it was really a question of what we could afford down south, which was really nothing, and what we could afford up here, which was, you know, this house it's not massive. It's 3-bed, 1.5 bath, which sounds pretty impressive, but it's a small cottage, you know, like it's small in size, but big in individual spaces, I suppose, is one way of looking at it. And it was just the first thing that mum saw that she really fell in love with, and it was in a place that she really wanted to live. And it wasn't completely in the arse end of nowhere, because that's what she wanted. But my brother and I were very much like, please let us be near some kind of civilization. So that's what she made happen. And we moved up, and it took 2 days driving with our dog and 2 cats piled into the car with a whole load of luggage. And we got here and we slept on the dining room floor for the first night because we didn't have anything, because it took 3 days for the moving lorry to arrive. And that was it, really. We've been here ever since, and we've been in this house ever since. Like, we haven't moved. Obviously I moved out into the caravan about 7 years ago, get my own space, be a little bit more independent, that kind of thing. But buying houses or even finding rentals here, oh my god, it's impossible. There is a housing crisis on Skye. And that's all I'm going to say on it, because I could make an entire series of videos on this subject, but I'm not going to, because I want my channel to be about happier things, frankly. So, but there is, and I'll tell you that right now. If you're thinking of moving to Skye or any small island, I highly suggest looking into accommodation first. Do not accept a job and get a start date and then try and move here, because I very much doubt it will work. Rentals of any description, even buying houses now, like there's plenty of houses for sale, but they're all so expensive now. Like, it's impossible basically to move here. Like, people are really struggling. So we moved up, and obviously gotta work, right? So now we move on to jobs on Skye. I'm gonna keep this vague and brief for various reasons. My employment history. My employment history is very long, quite varied, and sort of jumps all over the place. So I did the rounds of the hospitality jobs that are available here, which is the majority of the jobs that you find available. It used to be when I first moved here and started working that most jobs you could get would only be available throughout the summer. And then in the winter you get laid off and you have to either go on the dole or find something else or whatever, because back then it was very much just a summer location for people. Between Easter and October was really when we saw all the tourism. And then between October and Easter there was nothing. That is changing slightly, and Skye in particular is becoming a little bit more of a year-round tourist location. I don't know what that means for employing people throughout the winter now. I've been pretty lucky since I left hospitality. I did have to do a few seasonal jobs, you know, so like I was employed by one hotel that closed every winter. So as of November, you were laid off, and then in, I think it was like March time, they would start opening up again and take everyone back on. So I did that for a couple of years, as well as worked in hotels all year round that were able to stay open. They were the slightly more expensive ones that tend to stay open all year round anyway. Then I moved on to basically whatever I could find. You know, I wanted to start having a bit more of a work-life balance. It wasn't a massive issue for me back in the day. You know, I was only like 21, 22 at this point. I wasn't thinking about like the future or settling down or, you know, any of that shit. Like I was just focused on like make my money, have my fun. Like those were my party days, right? And I loved them. They were great. And I really enjoyed working in hospitality. The thing I will say about my experience in hospitality here is that it doesn't matter how shitty the customers are or how long the shift is that you've worked. Like, the people that you work with in hospitality on Skye are the best people you will ever meet. Like, I don't know what it is. I genuinely have no clue what it is, but a lot of them are still really good mates of mine. I say a lot of them, 2 of them, because I don't really have any friends anymore, but that's a me problem. But the fact that I've actually managed to maintain friendships with a few people from my time in hospitality 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago is amazing to me, because that just doesn't happen to me. Like, so they honestly are like the best people. I had so much fun working in hotels and bars and all that. It was really, really good. But you know, you start to think as you get a little bit older, I'd like my evenings to myself. I'd like to be able to be the person sitting in the restaurant, you know? So like, you start changing jobs, and I've done all sorts. I've been a PA, loved that. I've been a vet nurse, loved that. I've worked in a supermarket, hated that. Hated it. That's all I'll say on that. And now I am self-employed. Again, that's the other thing. This is the second time in my life that I have attempted to run my own business. The first time was in hospitality. This is a whole separate video on its own, but years ago, I registered self-employed, I opened up a food business, and I was having a whale of a time, and it was what I thought I wanted to do at the time, and then circumstances changed, and I ended up going bankrupt and shutting the business down because circumstances changed, and that is all I will say on that. And I'm sorry I'm being vague. I know it's like the, you know, I'm like the in-person equivalent of the vague Facebook status now, aren't I? Like, I'm fully aware of that. Like, I'll DM you, hun. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not going to DM you and tell you what happened. So this is now the second time that I've been self-employed. This is the second time I have run my own business. This is the first time that I know without a shadow of a doubt that this business is going to last a good few years. And that simply is because my clients, my customers, come from all over the world now. I work remotely from home, proofreading, copy editing, developmental editing, a little bit of copywriting here and there. You know, whatever I can get my hands on, basically. If it's anything to do with writing or publishing, I want in and I will do it. And people actually pay me to do that shit. So I'm just like, finding a job on Skye can be very difficult. I think from what I know, I'm a little bit out of date now because, you know, I've been working for myself for almost a year, but the job market probably has changed. From what I know, from what other people have said, getting a job here at the moment is really, 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 really difficult because it's super competitive. Everybody wants a new job. Everybody's trying to move to the island as well. That's the other thing. Like, we've seen a massive spike in people looking for houses or accommodation to rent because through the pandemic, everyone in the towns and the cities has suddenly realized, like, oh my god, we're really on top of each other, and now they all want space. So now there's just like hordes of people trying to move to more remote locations and looking for work and looking for houses, and there isn't any because there already isn't enough jobs and enough houses here for the people that are already here. If you're the type of person who needs to enjoy their job for your own well-being and your own mental health, then you need to know that you'll be able to get a job here or to work for yourself in some capacity that you would enjoy. Otherwise, there's absolutely no point you living here. You'll be miserable. If you're like me and you can detach from whatever job you do and it doesn't matter, like, yes, I hated the supermarket job, but it also filled a gap, and I'm very grateful to the person that gave me the supermarket job because it meant that I was able to get out of a situation into another situation without too much of an interruption to my income, right? Like, and that's all I wanted. That's all it needed to be, and that's all it was. Anything that keeps me here is fine by me. If I end up having to go back to supermarket work at some point, then fine, fair enough. That's what I have to do. Like, as long as it means I get to stay on Skye. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I just hit you right in the microphone. If you can detach yourself from your job because it's worth taking a slightly worse job than you otherwise might be able to get elsewhere to live here, then great. You will be a happy bunny here and you will stay for many years and everything will be grand. That's not the case for everyone though, and there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest. Like, you spend so much of your time at your job that you really should enjoy it and you should be attached to it and you should like it because it makes up a massive chunk of your waking hours. That being said, the other thing to note here is that certain things to do with money are slightly different. I'm trying to say this in a way that's not gonna like upset every single employer that I know. Just in case they watch this. Frankly, I can't say it in a way that's not going to upset someone, so I'm just going to say it. The wages here are very low, okay? That's the reality of it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I want my channel to be a positive, happy place, but also sometimes the truth just isn't positive and happy, and I'm always going to be honest with you guys. The wages here are very low. In the 11 years that I have worked here and lived here, I have worked dozens of different jobs. I don't even know how many different jobs I've had, right? It's been a lot. Oh, cat hair floating in the wind. However, out of those countless jobs that I have had over the years, one of them was not minimum wage. That's it. One job out of dozens. There are a few employers that pay well. There are a few employers that maybe only go as far as living wage. But in my experience, and this is all it is, it's my experience, other people will have had a very different experience, and that's great for them. Like, if they're making money and enjoying themselves and living here, fantastic, like, well done to you. But my experience of being employed by other people on Skye is that only one of my many jobs has ever not been minimum wage. So that's something to take into account, because things like food is more expensive here. Shipping is more expensive here. Obviously, you're in a remote location. Companies like to jack up the shipping costs. If you want to live and work in an area like Skye, if you want it enough, you'll make it work and you'll be really, really happy, and it will be the best thing you ever do. That's the reality of living and working on Skye. There's a bit of a price to pay, but how much do you want to live here? So there we go. That is my experience of living and working on Skye. Someone else is going to have a totally different experience, and I dare say there'll be someone in my comments at some point being like, oh, you sound like you hate it. Couple of bits of housekeeping before I go. Don't forget that once I hit 1,000 subs, I really, really, really want to do a Q&A. I will answer anything. Ask me anything. I don't care, right? I honestly don't care what you ask me. Like, you can ask me literally anything and I will 100% answer it. I am currently... I just broke 861 subs. When we get to 1,000, I really, really, really want to do a Q&A. So please drop me a comment. Also, my community tab finally became available for me to post on. So as I near 1,000 subs, I will post there and you can maybe put questions there. I don't really know, but just drop a comment below if you have a question now that you want me to answer for my Ask Me Anything. That's what I'm going to call it. It's going to be an Ask Me Anything. So I really want you guys to dig deep. Please. Please don't leave me at 1,000 subs with no questions to answer because I will cry. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Hit that ring bell button to be notified every time I upload a new video, which, don't forget, is now the first Sunday of every month. Okay? First Sunday of every month, new video. And I will see you guys next month. Bye!